Sorry, folks, that was a technical difficulty. My thumb accidentally hit the stop button. Grr. But anyways, it's cool. We'll just do it again. This is the BattleGC PRO by Retro Fighters for the GameCube, and this is going to be the second controller that I'm going to show y'all real quick. Now, I'm not going to go through the hassle of connecting it with the desktop and showing off Street Fighter, like I did with the D6 over here. And the reason being is because this wasn't designed for fighting games. You can tell by the button layout. The GameCube controller never was designed for, your typical fighters. Heck, the GameCube didn't even have hardly any fighters on it. We had like what, Capcom versus SNK 2 and Soul Calibur, and maybe a Mortal Kombat or two, but GameCube, Nintendo, they're more on their, kid-friendly type games, the more cartoony type games. But anyways, the D-pad here, it's a tactile click, not mechanical switches, but more of a tactile click similar to Xbox Series X. And it does have that same diagonal issue as the D6 over here, where when you try to link a combo in Street Fighter, it will not execute properly. But that doesn't matter, to be fair, because this is not designed for fighting games. So don't even worry about that. As a standard D-pad, it's solid. Like, personally, I like my D-pads to be a little bit looser, but this is also brand new out of the box, so that could, loosen up over time. It's not super stiff either. It's fine. Like, it's solid. I could play Mario with it or whatnot. You've got two paddle back buttons here on the GC Pro, so it would make a great first-person shooter controller, just so y'all know. But before we get to the rest of the control and the ergonomics or whatnot, I'll go ahead and grab the box here real quick and go over the basics. Right here, we've got Bluetooth and 2.4G wireless technology. So yeah, it is Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz. Hall effect analog sticks, meaning no drift, vibration feedback, so it vibrates, that's good. Added P1 and P2 back buttons, those two paddle buttons I showed y'all. Accurate D-pad with integrated switches. The tactile switches earlier that I showed off. Rechargeable LED battery with status indicator. 30-foot wireless range. 10 plus hours of gameplay on single charge. USB-C charging port. And there's the box again. Ergonomically, it feels solid in my hands. It does have a little rougher texture right here, in case you sweat a little. And what I really like about this controller is I like how the analog buttons right here, when you mash down, you get that micro switch click. Makes me feel like I'm pulling a trigger on a gun. So if I'm playing a first-person shooter and I'm pressing that, I feel like I'm pulling a trigger on a gun. Now, some people, do like the hair triggers where there's less travel for that precise, oh, I want to shoot before you shoot me, who shot first, like you Han Solo or whatnot on Star Wars. But for me, I always liked pressing it all the way down. I like the longer travel because it makes me feel like I'm pulling an actual trigger on a gun. Now, the analog sticks here feel pretty much just like the ones on the original GameCube factory. So those are solid. They do have an extra button here. Now, the width of this analog is slightly smaller than the factory GameCube controller because I put them side by side and took my eye to it, and I was like, that's a little tiny smaller. It's not much. It's not smaller by much, but it's a pinch smaller. So just so you all know, the shoulder buttons here are tactile, which feel a whole lot better than the factory GameCube controllers because if memory serves me correctly, and if y'all remember, these buttons up here on the factory GameCube, they were always stiff, like very hard to press. Well, actually, not hard to press, but when you press them, you wouldn't know you were pressing it because it was so stiff. It's like, hey, am I even pushing that button? Because it was so stiff. So that's an improvement. That's an improvement. These right here feel basically the same. This is definitely an improvement right here. because on the factory GameCube, it was a tiny membrane D-pad. It was like a Game Boy Advance D-pad. It was horrible. I don't know why they did that, but they did. So that's definitely an improvement. Now the buttons over here pretty much feel like the factory GameCube. They don't feel like clicky buttons. They feel very mushy, like the factory GameCube. So if that's what you like, then that's what you're gonna get. So you'll get that nostalgic feel with these. I wouldn't call these an upgrade or a downgrade. I would call them, they feel like GameCube buttons. For some weird reason though, if I'm pressing A, you can hear a little bit. It's got a little click to it, but then when I get to the B over here, it starts to get quieter. And then Y is completely quiet. And then X over here, for some weird reason, the X has a very short travel and doesn't feel like a button. It feels like a leaf button, like a leaf switch, to where you're just pressing down on it and there's no membrane behind it. It just feels like it's springing back up. I don't know why. It could be maybe my controller was, a factory defect, or that's how it was designed. I don't know. Overall, these feel like factory GameCube, but for some reason that one right there just feels completely different than the rest of these. The best feeling button to me is the A button, but it's also the main button too, since right there dead center in the middle is big. But anyways, there's that, and there's the switch on the back on the left right there that switches from Bluetooth 2.4 gigahertz. And that button right there on the right, that just turns it off. Like if I'm trying to sync it or whatnot, and then I just want to, it's off. But there you have it. That's the Retro Fighters BattleGC Pro. Not a fighting gamepad by all means, mainly because of the button layout. Definitely not a Street Fighter pad because of the way the D-pad is, but other than that, for anything else, it's solid. GameCube games, of course, with the GameCube layout. First-person shooters, because of the back paddles. Even if you're playing if you're emulating Nintendo, you get your B&A right there, or even Super Nintendo, it's still not so bad. So, there you have it. BattleGC, sorry for that error earlier. I was trying to get both of these into one video, but then my thumb slipped, so now they're going to have to be separate. But it's okay. It's whatever. It is what it is. So, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. And again, these were sent to me for a purpose of review, but my reviews will always be my personal opinion with my OCD, my perfectionism of playing fighting games. I will always be straight with y'all with no cuts and no edits and straight to the point. Very detailed. And if I had mentioned it before, there is a center pivot on the D-pad, just so y'all know. So it's not one of those D-pads that you press down on the center and all the buttons activate. There is a center pivot. That is very important for a D-pad. Always have the center pivot. When a company doesn't have that, they're cheaping out. Stay away from them. Anyways, this is KJ with KJ Reviews, and I'm signing out. And looking forward to doing more reviews for Retro Fighters. Thank you again, Retro Fighters, for the donation here for controllers. Looking forward to seeing y'all again. Deuces.